Alrighty. Alrighty. Welcome back, my friends, to another Tavernside Talks. Welcome to the tavern. I, of course, here as usual, have Connor with me tonight. Sadly, Logan is still out. At least that's what we understand, because he's not responding in the group chat. Hopefully he's all good. Logan, hopefully you're good.
He's not. He never will be again.
Hopefully. I mean, we can only hope it'll be alright. But yeah, tonight we will be doing a part two kind of to our engaging encounters, which was the episode we did last week. This is kind of part two, and this is where we actually will go into the software that we use called TaleSpire, as you can see up on the stream. It is a game. I mean, it's a game that you can get on Steam. And basically, it just lets you build battle maps, and just lets you express your artistic endeavors into the digital format, so that you can explain and have or you can visually see and go through combat. And so me and Connor here, Connor specifically has a lot. He's been running a space campaign, which we have mentioned, or a D&D Star Wars 5e game that we've been mentioning constantly throughout our episodes, and he just has a bunch of different maps for that. Same concept though, and honestly, it can give us a little bit of different insight you can do, especially for those out there who are running maybe something a little different or want to. So, well, I think we should just jump right into it. Do you want to start, Connor, or do you want me to jump in?
I could jump in. That map I had open there.
Yeah, scrapyard.
The scrapyard there. We can jump into that guy. Let me format this in such a way that it won't give me a headache.
And then just real quick, so basically it's going to obviously load up and everything, but we'll just kind of almost do it similar to how we kind of talked about last week, kind of like how we built things up from the ground. So with this one, kind of give us the premise, the understanding, the inspiration as to why you built it, and then kind of just going through different things, and I'll just follow along here as I can visually see it.
Well, initially, and how I designed it, and kind of how I go through most of my builds, is I'll think of something that's like, that would be a fun environment for a fight, and I build that. And then as things go, eventually what ended up happening story-wise, as far as the campaign, what happened was everybody split up. One group did a great job, one group got the job done, technically. But such a way incurred a response.
Yeah.
And this is just, I had that map already built up with something cool in mind, and I built this environment for, it was like a home base in some way for an allied group of people that they were kind of working with. So that's where they were when this popped off. So I had that groundwork, and then I just built out the area around there, like little roads, these, gotta turn on this little light feature.
Yeah, so we can see.
But like these cars and stuff where, we're just all things rolling up, but also part of that is that is because it was like a police force that rolled up to respond to you guys, but it's also that's extra cover that ended up being utilized by the men and such, or by certain units that were over here, which was different characters. But then also all that's going on out here.
Oh, there's Kraz.
And then there's. Oh, that's right. Where is Kraz?
He's right. He's literally right on the street. Were you just next to the robots? Yeah, that was my character, and then obviously you have Taldar, who's another character.
Oh, are you able to see him? Because for me, he's actually blurred out a little bit.
Oh, can I grab him? Here, let me grab him. Is he back now?
No, he's like, on mine, it looks like, and I actually was messing with this. I thought I did something. It is, I'm looking at a moving amalgamation of silicone in the shape of a man.
Yeah.
It's just clear.
I'm ready to re-download him maybe, and maybe I'll grab him again.
Sure. Oh, hey, now I see him.
Yeah, because I noticed that too. I was actually looking at some of the other stuff, but yeah. And actually, just for quick reference too, last week we did mention building out the battle map a little bit into it, because the only thing that was currently here was this first structure that we're kind of seeing all the conflict in. It was when me and Logan, actually, who's usually does one of these business episodes with us. Yeah, we ended up. I was like, bro, come on, expand the map, and so we just copy pasted some buildings, and we just just to give the visual, and kind of what he was mentioning was just the fact that
you're breaking up quite a bit for me, by the way, Jared.
Am I? Oh, cool. Hopefully it's nothing too terrible here. Let me check the stream, make sure. It makes sense that the stream's not breaking up, only because that I'm like hardlined right into it. I think it might be just like my computer kind of trying to do everything. Am I better now?
It's better now, yeah.
Okay. But yeah, that's actually one thing I really like about TaleSpire is that you can just copy and paste. And so yes, it's obviously just a cookie. It's just a cookie cutter, just replication of what he already built. But it's just cool that you can you can expand it quickly. We had the visuals that we needed, and it worked. Obviously, some of the copy paste wasn't exactly. You can see walls are taken out, but it's cool that on the fly you can do things like that.
Oh, that was fine.
Yeah. You can also see that obviously
that stuff doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, you also see a lot of like the police are up here in the front. Like this is middle of the battle that you're seeing because the police did show up and everything. And then go ahead if you want to. I'm actually going to drag the slider down here so that we can see the interior of this warehouse.
Yes.
And if you want to just kind of go through play by play on that. So.
Oh geez, a lot. So. You had a lot of like civilians because I always liked there to be multiple factions going on, and civilians in a firefight is a faction in and of itself. But also you have like if you look through here, there's some of these people are actually armed. I think most of them ended up on the ground floor there. But yeah, there's a bunch of armed people there to kind of defend themselves, and then also a more dynamic, colorful environment because this is made to be like the actual headquarters and such.
Right.
Of a faction, so there had to be some color, some personality to it, which TaleSpire does a good amount of, especially the sci-fi one. They have these screens here, which kind of have that light on, which are showing really nothing. It's just showing stuff, which is great. Yeah. I know there are ways you can program them and add your own stuff to it.
Oh, wow.
I just haven't.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing that. I'm just behind a bar. it's
that'd be a lot.
Yeah,
but it's cool that you have the options to do that though.
Oh, absolutely. And I will say this, and this isn't a knock against TaleSpire, it just is the reality of it. D&D is fantasy. So the tools you have when you're making fantasy maps are absolutely plentiful. You have a lot of different things, even if it isn't like the vision of what you want. Like if you go to like certain they'll have presets for certain like structures or walls. That color isn't quite what I was looking for. Like they'll have a lot more options. Whereas with sci-fi, there are a bit more limitations.
Right.
As far as it just isn't made for sci-fi. But they do have enough things there that I'm able to make a wealth of things. I was able to make this place. This is one of my first actual bigger, more technical builds. And by technical, I just mean multiple floors, multiple dimensions.
Right, and of course you have the freaking auto gun in the front in case the cops show up, which they did.
Yeah, well, that's why, it's just being prepared. That's just Boy Scout rules.
Yeah, your Boy Scout, your keep your auto gun close patch.
Yeah.
And then
so this one was fun just because. Yeah, but I was just gonna say is because I know last time we talked about like when you make a tavern, like a battle map for a tavern. Make the outside of it. And I think this place is kind of what influenced that thought for me, just because the idea in my head was the combat was going to happen and how everything was set up. It would be, my thought was you guys are going to be hunkered up inside because that made the most sense to me. And then things were going to happen. You guys were just going to hold the front door. But I built a little bit of the outside, and the majority of the combat happened outside.
Right.
Like by a lot, people got ambushed outside, people got ambushed on the roof. There was fighter combat where two of the players were in a fucking fighter jet of sorts.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Just rolling the most stressful dexterity saving throw because if they fail it, both their characters are dead. Like all that stuff happened, and I thought it was going to be a combat. I was like, oh, they're going to be inside a bunker. The players will never be where you want them to be.
No, exactly. And that's kind of where, and that's good lesson too, because then me and Tyler bursting out the back door, and you're like, shit, I guess I should have built it up a little bit.
I will say that you guys standing here in the alley is because I dragged you guys from all. They are the reason this map is so deep with warehouses, is because they saw all the police and they went, we're leaving. And ran away.
Well, actually, it wasn't even necessarily then. We were shooting at the police. It was when the missile hit the building. Is when Kraz was like, "This is no longer viable."
Missile hit the building. It happens sometimes.
And I took like a third of my health immediately, and it didn't even hit me directly. And I think I passed my save too, and I was like, "Yep, I'm not getting missiled to death."
I will say this setting has a fun thing for ship combat. If you look at some of the ship weapons, they're gonna do like a 2d6, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's like, well, it's a ship cannon. What do you mean? What they do is they have a modifier, which means ground to air is you divide it by 10. So if you do 26 damage, you round up to 3 damage is how much you do. Other way around though, it's times 10 ship to ground. So if you do 26 damage, it's actually 260.
Yeah.
So
super lethal.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Incredibly lethal.
I think it's a very good way to just simplify it. Instead of being like, oh, now you're rolling 70 d10 or something. It's like, nah, just multiply, call it good. Very streamlined. Don't have to do all this crazy shit.
Right, and also knowing when it's appropriate. Like, don't have combat where like, oh, all the enemies are in planes. You guys forgot to bring them. Like, don't. Unless it makes sense.
Right.
But, don't plan on it.
Right. Is there anything anything else for this? Any other notes?
Not really. I mean, the only thing that TaleSpire kind of has is build mode is something you can toggle on and off. Like, I even done it multiple times in this stream, and that's just a way you get to manipulate and change the environment. If an explosion happens here, you can just remove the wall or something and blow it out and add some debris. Like, I know one of the characters, you have this car out front. He wanted to go into it and drive it away, and he went and attempted to drive it, and it got that far. Like, there's. Oh right. You can always edit and manipulate the map because it's here for you guys to, for the characters to play with and manipulate, and it's always good to, when appropriate, represent that as best you can.
Right, which I'll actually show them because they can't see the build mode when you're toggling it, but when I jump over to one of mine, I can pull it up and show.
Oh, by all means, yeah.
Cool. All right, let's go and switch over then. So that was the scrapyard. Okay. All right, we'll jump now over to one of mine that I make, which is more in the fantasy realm. We'll just do the Storm Sword. You're actually in the Storm Sword arc as long as you haven't. Did you actually get rid of that one?
I didn't delete it.
All right,
I'm going in right now.
Yeah, that one's a little bit more simple. I don't have a bunch of different maps for this one necessarily, so. Yeah, actually, I think I literally just built this all in the same instance, which is interesting. All right. Oh, yeah, I did, literally. Yeah. So let's go. How do you turn the light on again? Just L?
L, yeah.
Nice.
I definitely just tried doing it forgetting that I am not running this show right here.
So we actually start at the ladder sewer kind of way here. So this actually, so for context for this one, I had this is actually one of the first little mini arcs, one of the arcs that we ran on the channel. Very first one, it was this the Terror Beneath Storm Sword. The premise was essentially the party members. Connor was supposed to be a part of this one actually, but then some scheduling things conflicted, so it was just ended up being 2 people, and then I actually threw an NPC in just for a little bit of balancing. But yeah, they basically, some people got recruited to go to this wealthy estate. And the dude's like, hey, there's a creature that has a bounty on its head. Why don't you, if I hire you, we go kill it. I'll give you some cut, blah, blah, X, Y, Z. So they're essentially, there's something lurking beneath the city in the sewer. And so they had to go after it. And so I built a sewer. Actually, let me go ahead and rise this up too. I do kind of wish, and actually, I think there is. It might not have been in the game at the moment, or maybe I just didn't want to add it. But there is, you can bring up the entire flooring of the sea level, which is really cool for like, if you want to build like a beach or something or whatever. For this instance, I literally just brought it up for the sewer actual waterway. Obviously, you can see though, it kind of does everything. There is actual individual tiles, which I'll actually show you.
Yeah, I was gonna say they just added those. I think recently, those water tiles.
Yeah,
maybe I just noticed them recently.
Temp water. Yeah, you can see now you can actually put down water. I don't think they had that initially because I think I would have done it.
Yeah, because I only found it for a map we'll look at later, and seeing that knowledge, decided the build I was doing required an aquarium.
So
different priorities. That would have absolutely helped you to make yours actually like make sense. Where it's like, yeah, they can use it everywhere.
Which I don't actually understand now why I can't get rid of the temp water. Well, now there's just water right there. It's not letting me like grab it. It's not even like registering as a block anymore.
I just backspace out, or not backspace, but undo.
Oh, well, I don't know if oh, hold on, I think it's gonna keep going.
You're almost there. Hey!
Jeez, dude. It's funny when you don't realize how many things you manipulate until you try to go back and you're like, holy shit. But yeah, there's just a lot of different things you can do. They have aberration, they have castle, they have castle ruins, they have cavern, they have all these different things. I'm not gonna go through all of them. They also have like the monsters you can choose. They have constructs, they have dragon folk, etc., right? But yeah, so just kind of simple. And I will say this, not every single map for this one, because it was so restricted in kind of the environment they were in, and I feel like visually a sewer can be kind of difficult to kind of like comprehend. And so for this one, actually, I made it so that this was like a visual map for them role playing, like navigating.
Right,
which
it was like a dungeon they were delving.
Exactly. So like this first instance, and I actually don't know why. I might have deleted it. I feel like, I don't know why. I feel like things like change when you leave a map. I don't know why. There should have been like a fireplace here. Maybe I deleted it all because he backed up. But this is actually where they met the here, where's my light? This is actually where they met the third individual, the NPC that they're doing this with. He had a little thing going here. They met up with him down here, and then they entered farther in. And so as they entered in, they went over to, I want to say it was this nexus, this kind of actually, you know what? I take that back. There was a couple different areas that they navigated that weren't battle map necessarily specific, but I think the first one I did was because I was like, hey, you guys are down here, and I kind of wanted to mess with TaleSpire because I think this was actually my first battle map that I actually built out. I actually built this little dice roller because there's water everywhere, so I figured if you wanted to roll it, which is actually another cool thing about TaleSpire, is how do you pull the dice? Oh, I think you have to exit build mode, right?
I believe so, yeah, but, well.
Yeah, there's dice right here that you can grab and you can roll, which is really cool.
I remember how to delete them, so I guess you just have 2 d20s that you're welcome to get them out of the dice roller.
I think you just you go over them and you can delete them. I think if you like, yeah.
You know what? I don't need your sass.
All right, cool.
How dare you.
But then they made their way over into the deeper part. There was kind of an intersection. This is kind of, oh my gosh.
Sorry, I rolled fireball damage. Sorry, I had to. All right, that's gone. I'm done.
Okay. But then I don't know if you guys have ever fought the creature. I think it's Utiga or something. It's like a trash monster. It like lives in trash.
Oscar.
Yeah, but there's some monsters in here. There's some debris that I was using to represent, like there's piled up garbage that like the creature would like kind of hoard. I used like some big ass turtle things because they don't actually have that specific creature, which I would say that TaleSpire definitely excels with the in the realm of like building terrain, but minis are still a little bit lacking when it comes to like across the whole spectrum of D&D. You're not gonna have everything, which reasonably so, right? There's no like
they have a reverse centaur. I know that.
I actually saw that. I saw that. But there's actually this really cool online website called Hero Forge, which is it's pretty well known. It's an online tool that you can create minis, and then you can actually port them in here, which is awesome for like people making characters for their or minis for the characters, and you can put them right in the game, especially for those who are in a virtual space, where they can only meet up with their friends via whatever. So that's really cool. And then so there's that instance, and then they navigated some more, and then they made their way finally to kind of where the creature was housed or living, because they had to like follow the scratch marks and stuff through like the through the cave. They ended up finding it the sewer connected to like a cave system, at which point I would no longer have the water, so just get rid of that. And then they went in here, and then they fought a big crocodile, which actually was not a crocodile, it was a behir. And so and then you just kind of built it up, and to just kind of get that 3D, almost that kind of more realistic perspective. I added supporting pillars, but then the real fun was when they discovered that there was actually a secret kind of little nook in the back that had a ladder leading up, which led them elsewhere. I want to say, did I delete everything as I went? I think I did.
I think it's over here.
No, I'm trying to see if I had the hide volume still applicable. Because there was times where I would hide things, and that's actually something really cool about TaleSpire too. Is you can hide different sections, so you can build it all up, and you just cut it out, crop it as you need to, and then you can reveal it as you go about it. But basically, they went up the ladder, which led them to the little trap door on the ground here, and then they went out. They fought the statue. I think it's in the ground now, but they ended up fighting the animated statue, made their way up, and it actually ultimately led to an estate where they ended up fighting some other dudes, and here's all the minis and whatnot. Yeah, so. But yeah.
Oh yeah.
I will say one kind of thing is just when it comes to building out things in TaleSpire, sometimes it's nice when you do like theater of the mind, or like you're describing things using the theater of the mind. It can be nice because you don't have to explain every little detail. You don't have to necessarily fill the space for players to kind of fill it in themselves, or you can go back through and as they kind of investigate, you can fill it in. Building like this kind of little parlor area was kind of a little bit difficult because I had to think, okay, what would be here realistically? So I started, having to fill the space, and that can get pretty tedious depending on what you want to do. But like for me, it's a lot of fun to fill it, and just put things that would be here. And I would say I about filled it as much as I wanted to. He had a little study, he had a little like storage area, but that was about it. So like, I filled it for about the capacity, but you can have a lot of dead space and whatnot. Depending on how large you do it. And I feel like visually, like building things out too is also really good to kind of get a perspective, because sometimes I'm like, yeah bro, this shit's like 400 feet big, or oh, it's a 10 by 10 room or something, and in my mind I'm like, oh, it's pretty big, and then you build that out in the world, you put a mini in there, and you're like, oh, okay, let me go and actually get some more realistic dimensions here.
Yeah, no, I've definitely done that a time or two. It's like, all right, well, you're in a broom closet, I guess. My bad.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, and then you have some torches you can put on the wall and lighting and stuff. It's just, TaleSpire is really cool when it comes to being able to. And honestly, we'll probably show all the battle maps, and then maybe we'll just like, maybe we'll go back into one of them and just like build things out, or just show kind of a lot more of the features of TaleSpire for those that might be interested. And that way people can kind of have a little bit of an understanding whenever we use things in our games. But that about concludes the Terror Beneath Stormsword. And what's also another cool thing about TaleSpire as well is that you can actually create new boards. So this one, for this one, I just built individual sections and then I hid them. But in hindsight, you can actually go and make different boards, and you can basically be like, okay, now we're going to a different place, and you can switch the boards, which I'll show you all in a little bit with a different one. But we can go back out of this one.
Hell yeah.
All right, now we're going to which one do you want to do?
Oh, they're both in the same instance anyway. 1 minute, let me figure out how to leave. It's not letting me leave.
Oh, you're stuck in the sewers. You're stuck in the sewers forever.
Not again.
Not again, my guy.
Okay, well, we're just gonna exit out. Oh, there you go, duh. Figured it out. I'm a smart man, don't worry about me.
Using brain juice.
No, no, I'm not. Don't you accuse me of that now. Yeah, just going to the next one. Which one do you want to look at? Because I have the other two that I can look at.
Whichever your choice. Your choice. I mean,
well, hey, it started us right on the ship, so we can start there. Yeah.
So what we were mentioning last episode for part 1 of this is just kind of like how you can use TaleSpire to kind of build things out and give people give your players visuals on just non-combat things. Like this is the ship. Go ahead, Connor.
Oh yeah, no, this was a pain in the ass to put together, I'll be honest. But no, it was a really fun build because this is the ship the players got through nefarious and in some ways to them still somewhat mysterious means. But it's theirs, it's their house, it's their home. I'll say the players haven't seen some of the things they just did to it because they just upgraded a lot of components on it. But no, it's big old multi-decked ship. They just added holding cells here and such, and that was this span where my light's coming through on that lower level, or not lower level, but below the pilot house there was one big captain's quarters that they were investigating.
Wait, are you within it? Let me drag this down.
Yeah, I went down a level within it. Yeah.
Oh, why is it not working? Oh shit! Hold on. Oh my gosh, yeah. So are you in the steering, the helm, or are you beneath the helm?
Well, deck below. I have my lights still on, so you kind of.
Okay, yeah. When you don't. Okay, there we go. Cool.
Gotcha. So yeah, I was just gonna say the helm modified a little bit. There wasn't as many walls before. They upgraded the ship with security in mind, but they also added again these holding cells here. They made a little lab here, and this is all one big decorated. Because when I first made the ship, it was just a ship I was making. The big old captain's quarters and all this nonsense that had a bunch of stuff in it, and now the players wanted to upgrade and change things on the ship, which again the Star Wars 5e system allows for and has too many systems and rules for. But they picked things I wanted for the ship, and then I get to go in and actually make it. Add little details and stuff. Get kind of creative with it. Like I use a lot of components that are originally for fantasy and just make them work here. But
right.
And still, I will say, on the ship, there's plenty of spaces that technically still have little hide volumes on. Because there's certain parts of the ship, like actually, if you want to go a deck lower with me here. Oh, I forgot we need to go even a deck lower than this. Oh no, this is fine. You can see the medical bay, right? If you remember the medical bay all the way forward.
Well, I have to go slow because there's so much stuff, so I don't.
You'll crap out the PC.
Well, no, I still want to. I don't want to go too fast and have it cut anything.
Oh, you're fine.
Hold on. Almost there. Okay. The medical bay. Yeah, I'm here down here.
Yeah. They so there was a lot of things they were messing around with over here. Briefly, one character's trying to make poison in it. Medical, but no, there's a bunch of things even volumes like this. I ended up removing it because as a DM, you have things in stories that make sense to you. Then as the story continues, it stops making sense.
Yeah.
So here in this back to tank, actually, let me see. Let me hop into tab mode here. There's currently a hide volume with a little creature inside. This entire time, you can probably see it now. There's a floating little squid monster inside the back to tank.
I cannot see it, but TaleSpire is kind of weird with visual things.
I put lighting on it just now. You can just see it kind of moving in that water in there.
I wish I could.
Okay. Well, the point is I had it there, and it was a fun hidden thing that I could hide from my players, but it's still there on the map. If they ever inquired or looked into it, it's a non-combat thing, but it's there.
Right.
And then, as the story progressed, it's that's not. I had a different thing happen where there's something hidden on the ship that they found out and had fun with, and this just seems too antagonistic as we kept going, so I ended up dropping that.
Right.
But no, then bunch of things, bunch of chairs everywhere for different gunner stations. One thing I like about TaleSpire is the amount of things you can interact with. You just open up all these doors. Players can interact with them. It's good. A little bit further down, there's the last area, which is just the cargo and everything, which they have heavily modified just now. But
wasn't there one? Isn't there one? No, hold on. Isn't there one more below that? No. Yes.
Below cargo?
No, hold on. No, okay, it's just being weird.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, cargo, engine room, adding all the vents and stuff. All these things that don't matter.
Oh, did you build up a wall around the airlock?
Yeah, so what they did is they upgraded the ship, and part of what they did is they made that a separate container. They made there's a deck above them now. That's a whole independent room.
Okay, that's why it looks different.
Gotcha. Yeah, this looks very different. You're actually the first person technically from that campaign to see it.
Nice. Also, fun fact, that is just a little that ship in there is just a car with 2 ultra mega jet engines on the top of it to represent.
Shut the fuck up.
You're right, bro. Sorry, my bad. And exposed.
How dare you? They'll never know. If you also look at the back of the ship, those same engines that are on the shuttle are the engines I put to represent the back of the ship's actual thrust.
Yeah, this ship takes 4, and that little one takes 2. So just think about that.
Well, if you the volume, I think it has 8 on it.
Oh, does it? Oh, I'm cutting some off then. Okay.
Yeah. But I will say, and that's why I wanted to show this, is if you're looking on the left side of the ship, there's this just closed door here that I'm going to open right now.
Yeah.
Just here. That was a door that they were on the ship in game for like a week and a half, and and one thing that's a benefit of making a map like this is even when the map isn't up, I remember the layout. And then one of the characters, Todd from the Red Mire and the Frost Trail, he's a player in that too, and he's talking about like looking around the ship. He wanted to make an armory, and I mentioned, it's like, yeah, there's the one locked door. He's like, what do you mean locked door? The door that's still locked. And I go on to explain, there's still some doors on the ship you guys have not opened.
Right.
And they're like, they put like 8 people together, I swear to God, like get hacking it, doing whatever they can to lockpick, bust open the door, find a bunch of science experiments inside. And all that stuff is, exists here on the map. Like same thing in hide volumes here. There's 3 different geese that are in hide volumes because that's what was inside the doors. These experimental geese. Because it's sci-fi, it doesn't need to make a lot of sense.
Right.
But also, the fun thing about this map, and why I keep it, is space combat happens. And when space combat happens, there's another map I'll go to, which cuts out a lot. I use like small little, in TaleSpire, they have like some pre-made little minifigures. So I'll use like a pterodactyl to represent their ship. I'll use like an owl to represent an enemy ship. Just because you just need to know the math and the distances and such. That's it. But I also will keep it on the same board here. I'll keep it on the same board because who's to say the enemy doesn't board? And then you have different players can exist on different boards, as some people are focused on shooting the enemies outside the ship, and other players are focused at keeping doors closed and trying to keep the enemy at bay that might have snuck aboard the ship.
Right.
So taking an environment like that where that you'll be going back to and taking a little bit more time with it is always fun. Like I put a decent amount of time into making this map here, and it was a fun one to make.
Exactly. Well, and I think it's, it's just crazy how much of all the items, just in general, would you say were a lot of the things that are in this ship, were they individual pieces? Like I'm looking at the front piping here. Do I have a light? I can't use a light. But the front piping on the bottom floor, are those all individual pieces?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they are.
And then then I was even noticing you, I'm gonna go back up actually let's see, not this one necessarily, but I think it's one more up. Actually, I don't even think we got to the one that's one more up. Hold on, yeah, I don't think we got to this one, so let's do this one.
Which one?
Oh no, we did. But the third, the one below the cap or the helm. But just
yeah.
But just all the food on the shelf. Did you put all those cans there?
Yeah, dude.
That's
I put all those cans.
Dude,
I put basket of berries. There's
wild.
A rec room on the opposite side where put a bunch of stuff. Got a big screen TV. Gotta have the view of the back of the ship.
Yeah, but I think that's what's so cool about something like this, and this is why I even brought up, if you build out a keep or a house, and it's something that it's a campaign long, you play tens, maybe hundreds of episodes, and it's really cool because then you can bring it to life and you can customize it like Connor has done here, and it's so cool because dude, it looks like a full a 1-to-1 scale. I feel like everything here would be what I'd be seeing, and it's just kudos to you, Connor, because holy shit, man.
I appreciate it, but I also do want to say, making this thing, the first thing the players will accidentally point out is the things you forgot, because they're going through. It's oh, I need to go use the restroom. Where's that on the boat? I'm like, give me a minute. And just tear down a wall, just to, throw it together. Have to add oh, here's a bathroom, I guess.
But I think that kind of brings in that kind of home fun though. Just shit, okay,
Well, that's it. You can be as prepared as you want to be. Then it's shit. 1 minute, guys. My bad.
But I also feel what's up, Knox? What's up, buddy? Yeah, get your life figured out. You just there you go, buddy. Good boy.
As we're talking, I did have to go into build mode and put a sink on the wall.
Nice.
It was hanging off a solid 2 feet.
But no, I was gonna say though was the what's cool about doing stuff like this too is you can have those secret compartments, and you cannot really give your players any leeway. You know how we were talking about in the encounters, where the first part, where it's like, oh, make them force them a perception check, force a couple things to see what they'll discern. But this, it's like you can just be like, yo, you either look at through every single thing or you don't, and maybe you'll give it. Maybe if it's like weeks and weeks and many sessions later, and you're like, okay, hold on, then maybe you will. But it's up to them. They can visually see the majority of everything.
They can't see the majority of everything. Sometimes TaleSpire does have it when you're like connected to a specific figure. Sometimes your view is limited to what that figure can see, I like that. Yeah. But and a thing like this, it's not as big of a deal, especially when it's a social setting. Yeah. Like if somebody's going to go run around the ship and go check it out, I'm not going to have them drag their minifigure room to room and go, whatever they're doing. Which normally we're just going to role play it, but
or not. If a player wants to do that, then it gives them that agency too, and it kind of makes them, makes them feel good.
It gives them that agency, and I'm going to punch them. No, I'm not letting you. I'm not letting you do. Like you can, and there's nothing wrong with it.
I did.
But this ship's huge. It'd take a minute.
I'm one of those. I enjoyed doing it. But we didn't really get to the helm, so now I'm up here at the helm.
Oh, by all means, the helm. And that is, there's certain stations for the ship. Let me close this door because TaleSpire has complications, and one of them is me figuring out how I want to make this door work as we're trying to protect their ship. Yeah. But just like you have to represent different stations. You have the main gunner. You have the pilot. They have like what's essentially a organic AI plugged in back here. They have a different, comms officer here. All that. I want to make sure there's physical places to be at. For roleplay, you can see the station. So if somebody wants to make sure they're always drinking coffee, they can put a coffee mug up here, and I'll put that on the little encounter map. Right. I also want them to be sitting there, so when the ship gets boarded, they can't argue with me about where they actually are when the sniper shoots them through the fucking window.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You don't get to tell me where you are. I have it. I know. You've been sitting there.
That's hilarious.
Things like that is just always... It's good to flesh things out appropriately. Like, especially the outside of the ship. Realistically, the players do not see the outside of the ship, really. They're interacting inside the ship. The outside of the ship is fluff. But I spent a lot of time on the outside of the ship to make sure it looked good, it made sense. Because I feel like, especially designing a ship in some way where it's supposed to have some combat, I want to make sure, like, if I'm putting XYZ here, if I'm putting, like, a gun here, and I'm looking at it and it looks weird, then maybe it is just weird, and I'm going to change it, and I might change how the whole ship looks. So right. There's a little bit of that. Building the body of this thing took a year off my life, but I like what came from it,
Yeah, it looks awesome. I think it was a real fun when I was in the space lands, bro. Space lands, and I was able to kind of just see everything. Space lands, and we were able to kind of navigate and check it out. So, and
always a good time at space lands.
Yeah, well, and that's another thing too about. Well, actually, I don't know how it works necessarily across different boards, but at the very least, and I'll show you kind of what I would do in some of my maps. But like, you can copy and paste things. So like, nothing's to say that if you build something out that it's a waste of time. You can always copy it. And save yourself a lot of time. And I'll show you a couple of those things that where you do.
I had a map. I didn't think about pulling it up. But I had a map of something like that, whereas a map like this was a small ship, and the other connecting board was a copy and paste that was kept having to like grab and drag because there were two ships like shifting back and forth on their position, and it was just like being able to like, it wasn't a copy and paste exactly, but it was like grab all these blocks in this area and move them in a uniform pattern, which made just that type of combat, like letting it be that fluid, and like letting things change and being manipulated like that. Letting that work was a lot of fun. Right,
it was no longer a building aspect. It was more of like, hey, I can organically almost move this object as a unit. Yeah.
As a player definitely should have died in the vacuum of space. But people are still alive, I guess technically.
Well, cool. Yeah. Unless you have anything left for this, we can jump over to maybe your second one.
No, there's so much shit here. But speaking of, let's go to the next one, which also has a lot of shit. Not different type. This is a proper battle map.
Yeah, I mean that was
you
a
need an
very
invite?
good example. Wait, I thought this was is on the same board, yeah, or on the
Same board. Let me summon you though. I just wanna
Yeah, I
make
think you need to summon me. That's just a really good example of one of the topics we brought up, though, of just building out a keep or a house or something and how it can be used. So that was a really good example. So good job, Connor.
appreciate it.
Who would have thought that, you
Here-
know, you spending all those hours and losing life off your fucking, off your soul would count to some content. So there you go.
You know, if it's gonna do.
Speaking
it,
of content, holy shit.
This was another battle map. This one had a lot going on, and well, it was fun to make. The context of this one is that central building you can see with the kind of the two big green drones near. Can you see that where
Yep.
you're at right now?
Yeah, I'm like zoomed all the way back.
Yeah, that's the only building that matters.
Right.
That was the only thing I intended to build. There is an alley up top that I kind of built like very rough like roofs and stuff on, but I just built like this back like access hallway because they're on a space station. They're using like an access hall to like break into this building, steal something, get out. However, my players utilizing this beautiful thing called player agency decided access hallway, everybody else can do that. We're going to go through the normal way and scope it out. And, and from that, I ended up, designing, this whole big, pavilion area. Got all these tents, which, again, this is not from the sci-fi version of TaleSpire. It's all from the fantasy side, but it worked great here.
Oh, really?
Let me
zoom down here and check it out. Yeah, nice.
These tents, these are blocks and such. They're not like presets. You take them, you can build up stuff.
Hey, nothing speaks sci-fi like using a fantasy tent but throwing a nice generator in there to be like, nope, we're in the future.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah, it's the wall. We know what's going on. Yeah.
Or a TV too.
And also, I'm just noticing it here. Can you see my light here?
No, I was looking at a blender. Sorry, I was getting really distracted. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, this arrow on the ground, I just put down because there's enough questions about what directions what were, and this in the middle of combat, I'm like, here's an arrow on the floor, and that's telling you the direction of the exit you're looking for, just because you can do that stuff in TaleSpire.
Yeah, well, actually, just a quick little side note, too, is that I do like how every single map they have a compass, too. Bottom left corner, if you haven't seen that already, so you can cardinal direction, which is really nice, too.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I didn't realize it or they didn't realize it, but either way, I put neon glow stick.
I was going to say, or you can neon glow stick to shell your ground and be like, there you go, you fucks.
I do want to say, because there is a slew of minis on the ground here. And what happened there is what I liked on it, if you go through the monster manual, they call Wretched Hives for the Star Wars 5e. Again, this is my own type of sci-fi world, but I like, you go through their stats and, find things that make sense. You port them over, reskin it, whatever you want to do. But they have really good stats for just mobs and crowds. Just of
oh, nice.
Talking about riots and such. So when one player is going to be outside from it, I'm like, okay, well, I can represent it. I always could have be like, okay, you're this far away. Oh, you and I were going to do theater of the mind type thing until you enter the battle map or manipulate it however you're going to. But with this, I was able to blow it up, make this whole thing, and then add the whole mob aspect of it. With how certain things went, people were killed out in the open. There was different factions interacting and beefing before the party was even involved, or the mob started getting stirred up, and then, the other character who was outside there decided to egg it on and stuff and start a full-blown riot outside, and that's why there's so many bodies on the floor, because they rioted against what's essentially, power armored Marines. So
yeah,
space Marines, if you will. They're in space, but
yeah, there's Marines in space.
But anyway, all this stuff that's going on the outside mattered, and it let me make because the big old guys in the black armor and such that were marching up was I like having dynamic combat. Yeah. I like having dynamic combat, and that was a different way for me to add a timer to what was happening.
Right.
Because there's a bunch of guards that were outside that were making their way in, and that was a factor that my party could deal with. But these guys are part of a faction that my party's absolutely shit scared of. They did not want to mess with it any way, shape, or form.
Right.
And they didn't know they were going to be there till combat already started, which is always a lot of fun to just pull on them. But yeah, so that was just another way to have that timer going, and that's why the other character outside, giving him something to do in combat. I think he technically fired off a spell offensively, but aside from that, he was just manipulating the mob outside, and that let him influence combat in his own way. But all the actual gunfire combat happened inside this big old building.
Which I think we should start breaking down, yeah?
Oh, God.
You want to go top down or down up? Or bottom
let's go all the way top to the access tunnel.
Okay.
If we can.
All right.
Yeah. Which I'm just going to lower this down so that it takes the roof off of it.
Actually, I manipulated the white one. I don't know what the fuck that is. But like the one on the right. And so where you can
so your pitch.
Yeah, so I can actually navigate through the actual tunnel.
There you go.
Actually,
I will say
did, but no, I don't know. It's not working. Anyway.
It's okay. That one's kind of finicky. It's kind of controlling where your focus is with the camera.
Right.
But this wall here was a player ability. One of my players, where my light is here, was
the chocolate bar?
The chocolate bar, yes. One of my players has, and it's a class feature, where it's kind of like an artificer ability, but obviously it's sci-fi, but he just has a construct with them that it can choose how it manipulates its structure. And he chose as they're running away, it's wall up the hallway behind us, dude. Obviously.
Yeah.
And it was a brilliant move that combined with some timed explosives really helped out everything there. But no, that was an access hallway, which goes all the way out. I had different points in it, different lights, and I always like to tell the players when there's something they should be looking for in the hallway. So I informed them there was these little nodes on the ground that they weren't at liberty to explore then, but later in combat when they're trying to escape, they realized those things were teleporters. Enemies teleported in front of them to get immediately obliterated by one of my players' broken spell abilities. But that's kind of how D&D goes, no matter what you're doing. But no, I had to make this hallway because my players were wanting to be creative, use this maintenance passage, and I wanted to represent it, especially when combat was getting ready to go and they're being very cautious about it. I wanted to give them as much information as they could before they were immediately ambushed and attacked.
Exactly.
But then, going through there's this big old just chill spot for a faction, a little bar area. And if you go down to that building, you can see that kind of cubic cage I made.
Yep.
Yeah, that there was no fields to make it. I just gave people inside the fly ability you can give
cool.
minifigures.
Yeah.
But that was zero gravity, just leisure area for everybody until somebody violently broke in and started murdering them all. But I wanted to have something in this room which could very quickly just become a normal firefight, having one or two things going on in it that just made it more dynamic. And that just made, there's more things going on than just that. Of course, also, I would say in normal D&D, you want to add more things with range because most things have melee. And it's kind of the opposite philosophy for me here. I want to make sure I'm adding things with melee because most things have range.
Right, exactly.
So I made sure there were some guys you could see moving around. They have glaives and stuff. They have guns, but they also have glaives that they were preferring to use, which helped tie up some people. But then just going to the bottom level, which the players only interacted with for a half turn, as a player went down there, then cast haste on himself and ran off and did all this craziness. But I just made this kind of like an empty area because I didn't want to flood it with too much because it didn't really matter. I wanted to add the button here, which activated a trap that went on inside the maintenance tunnel because these guys are smugglers. They knew about the tunnel. It was their tunnel that really the players broke into.
Okay. And here's your fish tank, yeah?
Yes. The fish tank, of course. There is nothing but algae and
there's an actual
guys.
fish.
Yeah, there's fish. There's also two guys that were just doing maintenance in there.
Oh, I can't see them. I might have deleted them.
They're in there. There's two astronauts in there.
I can't see them. Dang.
But I just had them in there in their dive suits. And I was just if somebody fell off, because there's always a possibility if somebody gets pushed off to fall in here, and that's the only way you know about that. They heard gunfire and they just held still. They're like, this is not our job. This is not our responsibility.
Yeah.
I'm here to clean a tank. But no, I think making maps like this, there's a lot going on here, but all of it ended up being in service. Everything outside ended up being in service. What was happening inside. You could make an encounter like this in this big, massive area. And also, I will say you can drag in a manipulated blob and pull whole units of people together.
Yes, sir. Holy shit.
Yeah, so that makes everything a lot easier. Especially when you start manipulating mobs of people, you're not like cherry picking and grabbing one by one by one.
Yeah.
But you could have social encounters like that too. You could make a map where the goal of the party isn't combat, but it is to stay out of sight. You know, if you wanted to be especially mechanics heavy, and if you wanted it to, you know, add the stress of it. I think battle maps allow for a lot more like mechanics and like wargaming aspects of D&D. And there's nothing wrong with that. But like if you want to do it with like just like the social encounter element, you absolutely could. Just, you know, you're going to be building a bit of stuff. And that's, you know, I will say making this map, it's larger than the ship by a bit, but you can see, like, just looking at it, like, all these floor tiles are the same, because I wasn't worried about it. This is all just, like, a massive copy and drag area. I added this little, like, path through it that took, like, 30 seconds, you know, then just going like that, building up. You get technical as you get going, but
yeah,
once you get okay with the system, it doesn't take much time at all.
It really doesn't.
I mean, it takes time. We're not saying it doesn't take time. Just
right,
relatively to what you would expect.
Well, like when I'm DMing and I'm building battle maps, like as I get later into battle maps, I'm like, oh yeah, and I'm going really quick. But once I like take a break from DMing, that's when and I start to kind of lose the quickness on TaleSpire. Is when it starts to kind of drag a little bit. But once you use the software for decent amount of time, you start to learn the mechanics, and it does not take. It's not super extensive. Also, what's going on over here in this corner? Why is there a robot pony?
Oh, so I was adding this whole element because 2 players were coming up to there, and I didn't know how much they wanted to socialize. But no, this is going to be one of the bars. This was there's 2 bars. The other one that's kind of incomplete, more industrial looking. I just had it cut off there because I didn't want to add more quantities to it. I tried building this pipe up, but the piping stacking became a pain in the ass. And I blatantly gave up partway through, and that is okay. You can always do that. Yeah. But no, it's just gonna be 2 rival bars that were just, I was gonna add this little, just like a very kind of a friendly competition to see if my players wanted to try to create a distraction by that. I wanted to always add like, if they want to do X, here's the opportunity to do so.
Speaking of which, look at this sniper dude on this fucking roof, ready to smoke somebody.
I will say my players never noticed him.
That's wild. This dude's ready to kill. I'm gonna jump into this one real quick.
I will say that man specifically caused problems in this fight, and he was never found out by the party. I like adding, not just for the sake of it, but I like adding layers of complexity to everything. So they're going to go steal something that was expensive and worth killing a number of people to get, which in D&D is kind of, standard day. But I wanted to make it feel realistic. Like, you want it, but so do they, and so do they. And these people want to keep it. And these people here that came dressed in black were just coming to buy it, Yeah. They came armed, but they're just coming to buy it.
Well, going back to what we were talking about environment, it's a lot of fun to make the environment, adding things that make it real, make it feel like you're in a world and there's a lot going on. Yeah, because nothing, it kind of feels kind of like stale or very rigid if you're like, yo, we're fighting in this bar and like nobody's interacting or reacting or nothing's happening. It's cool to add like,
you're just swinging on somebody and he's nodding at you.
Yeah, he's like, I expected this.
Not again.
Yeah, nah. What is it? It's like the movie, or what is it? What's the movie with Ryan Reynolds? It's where he lives in like the video game.
Oh, I know what you're talking. I never seen it, but I know what you're talking.
Blue shirt guy. What is that movie, dude?
Free Guy.
It's Free Guy. Yeah, where it's like, oh, we're getting robbed because it's our job. It's like, you don't make your NPCs like that. It's good to make them, make them feel alive and interacting in the world. I like this little bar though. It's super cool. Oh, I like how they have a burn pit in here. That's super cool.
Yeah. I expect people to go inside, and my players never went inside. They never dealt with the kind of factions that were happening out here. They never dealt with all that, and that's okay. That's that is what it is. I made something my players never have to interact with it. But as you were just saying, copy and paste exists.
Yeah.
I don't need to necessarily keep this situation exactly how it is. I can copy paste it, bring it to another map. It's a bar, you know. It's a fun bar, and I like. Go ahead.
Sorry, well, I was gonna say, can you bring it to other boards within the same?
I believe so.
I would hope
because
so.
you can create slabs, and then slabs save to your account.
Oh,
so
that's right. You can take them in.
Such and such.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue what you're saying though.
No, I was just saying that. Yeah, you copy and slide, and you could bring it. But I like to make my bars and everything in the environment thematic to where they're at, but also that isn't so strict. This place can exist on the planet they're now on. You know. Right. I mean.
Well, especially
this place in particular literally can't. But that's different. They're on a dry planet, so there's no bars.
Right, but this is the thing. I mean, that's the thing though too. Is like, if they don't see it, then it's still content you can use later because they never experienced it, and that's one thing. You know, as a DM, recycle, dude. Save yourself some heartache. Recycle, put it somewhere else if it makes sense, and you know, don't cut out work that you spent time on. Which is one thing I was gonna note for what you were saying is like I would say obviously the main details, the main focal points of the story or battle maps you want to flesh out, but like side things, like I would just like have a core idea, and then if they interact, then you just run with it. Or if they never see it, like I wouldn't get so wrapped up in fleshing out side plot A to F, as much as the main story, because that can be a lot. And then if they don't go, then it can almost be a little bit of like shit, It can just be a lot for the prep and kind of be overloading, but then, they don't even get to it. So that's why, but I mean, like you were saying, you can recycle it, but I think, just having those kind of couple bullet points as to what's going on or what this faction is or what this building is or whatever, and then gives you a good opportunity for improv, build it out, or you can adjust it to make sense to maybe it reacts in a way you didn't expect it to because something happened or whatever. So
I don't think it's ever reacted the way I expected it to.
So true. But
that's kind of the fun of the game, really. If it went every way I thought it should, then that'd be kind of unfortunate.
I think that's I think that's the one thing every DM complains about, but also secretly loves, because it's always that give and take of D&D and the improvisation and just the pure chaos sometimes. And you're just like, all right, here we go.
Oh my god, yeah. Especially things like this where. And I like doing it every once in a while where it's like, I'm going to add chaos to it. I'm going to add chaos to it too. And I feel like sometimes, you got to know your players, but giving them a little bit of permission sometimes. Especially this particular setting, space is a chaotic place. And it just lets them also just get weirder, have some stupider ideas and committing to them and all that, which is just a lot of fun to interact with. When someone's legitimate thought process for a hostage situation is, let's put a bomb on the hostage and then give them to the authorities. It's like they weren't holding a hostage. They're just like, let's go break them out, put a bomb on them, and then we could rob a bank when they're worried. It's like, okay, that's not okay, but it makes sense for the setting.
The more you explain your space game, the more I just feel like it's actually just a criminal villain campaign in weird ways.
There is certain individuals in the party that are just like, I'm here for money, and that's my personality.
Yeah, morally gray. It's
great.
Okay.
I wouldn't say morally gray. I wouldn't. That might be a bit too lenient on certain things they try to do every once in a while.
I would say so, probably.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
Good to go?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm ready to look at some of the stuff you might have cooking over here.
All right, let's head out of the space lands, and we'll jump back over to the fantasy. We'll just go through kind of the last boards that I have would be the through the Frost Trail.
Gotcha.
Which is all the boards that I made for this one. So let's dive in.
All right, I'm hopping in right now.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and actually move the board that we're on, which I think I'll need to do this. And we will go ahead and do the very beginning, which is the Cave Encounter. We'll go a little bit quicker because I have a handful of these ones.
No problem.
Are you on this board?
I'm on the board. I'm waiting on GM. I think you just need to summon me. Because I loaded in when you're in the Goliath camp.
How do I summon you? Oh.
It's on the tools on the side, next to atmosphere and all that.
go to board, delete board. No.
I don't have the tool tips to do that right now.
Maybe it's in player. It's probably in players, huh? Summon players to board. Yep, there we go. There you go. That's how you bring it up. So this one was the first. So context for these battle maps going forward is the group of individuals made their way into a city. There's an individual named Axoff who needed to make his way through the Frost Trail, which is a very deadly feat in the middle of winter. Generally, people don't go along this and navigate it, especially in the dead of winter. Kind of when in the early months and maybe like towards early spring is a little bit easier to navigate, but dead of winter, people, it's damn near impassable with all the dangers. But he needed people to get him across, so he hired a protection detail, which was the party. One of the first landmarks they were going to reach was a cave, which, as you can see here, didn't flesh out too much of the exterior. I just had kind of some just a little bit of trees to kind of make it more believable, and the actual entering in. It was nighttime. Obviously, the circumstances, like I was saying, super deadly outside. It's nighttime. It's super cold. I didn't expect the players to leave. That'd be kind of foolish. So they come in. They had their mounts, which were actually these large ox named, or called the Walian ox, because they're in the White Whale Expanse. And so I had their mounts in here. I named them all too: Stuart, Benny, Cavkin, Hero, Weldo.
Hero.
Yeah, R.I.P. You can, I added like a little fire that was set up, and then just cool little details as well. Like there's a hot spring, and you can see the ice that's kind of formulating from the cold air with with the moisture in there, built up around there. So it's kind of cool little details. And then you actually have interior portion of the cave. There was winter wolves in here. It was a winter wolf kind of little lair. And so they came in here and they were investigating deeper in, and they ended up speaking out to the party, and the party's like, "Oh shit!" And so then they, and it was like, "Hey, it's our meal. Meal became walking to us," and so the party's like, "That's not happening." But this one's relatively simple. But one thing I wanted to emphasize, because during session 0, I kind of asked the party like, "Oh, what do you guys want from certain things?" And they kind of emphasized like dynamic combat. And so for this one, I didn't want to just make it like you go in the back of the cave. It's there's a large kind of recessed area, and there's some bones, and there they are. So I wanted to make it a little more dynamic. And so I added a little bit like kind of a secondary route that they could take, and they could walk over this kind of little elevated portion. Kind of added some obstacles with the stalactites and whatnot, rocks protruding and things like that. And then obviously with just details added, bones and whatnot, which also can kind of indicate to your party like maybe areas they could loot, which I want to say they did, and they found some things.
Yes.
And then I even added a little bit of a recess. Oh, I should have the light on so you can see. Which actually in this dark lighting looks pretty cool. That's another thing you can do in TaleSpire is you can change the atmosphere lighting so you can kind of see. Or you can, change it to like dusk, dark, or a dusk, night, etc., which kind of emphasizes the fires and lighting tools you can use. But yeah, there's a little bit of recess in here, which one of the players found some stuff back there, and just things like that. But biggest thing I wanted to emphasize is just add, even simple encounters like this, like a cave, you can add cool things, to make it seem. To make it more dynamic when it comes to combat. Adding rocks is like, portions that you can have for cover, elevated things that you can traverse, and all of that kind of jazz.
No, for sure. And I think that's it too. It's just like, it doesn't need to be a cluttered environment to be a detailed environment.
Right.
You could add, like, as you're saying, like the ice, the stalagmites, the bones and such, and putting it around and you can make the environment make sense and be detailed and feel alive without having to add let's put a rug over here, just filling the space to fill the space.
Right. Well, one thing I've also been messing around with, especially for this arc that I did, was just adding little things, little deviations in terrain. Like, I've noticed that just doing that can really bring life into a space. Like, if you're looking on the map, put my light out again, like, these little raised up portions, they don't do much. They're the same literal freaking design of the ground beneath it. But just having those little bit of elevation makes it seem like there's a little bit more of different grades and different, different aspects to the cave than just one flat, surface.
Right.
So.
Definitely. And obviously, when combat differences in elevation and things like that, just let people who are a little bit more war gamer, a little bit more, lead a little bit more towards the dynamic side of combat, lets them have a lot more to do.
Right.
So it's always great.
Exactly.
I'm going to stand up here and swing down. Great.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Also good for your monsters, your entities or whatever, that you can give them. And that's going back to what you're saying, where you add like range or something, give it adds more depth to your stuff. All right, to the next. I want to say that it was from here. It was to the Valenvor ruins.
Yes.
This one is one of the biggest maps that I built yet.
Yes, with all the trees and everything.
Yeah, and I will summon you whenever I get here.
No, I've been here. I wasn't even on the other map, dude.
He said summon me. Nah.
Yeah, I said summon me. You didn't, but I'm like, it's fine.
I did. I thought I summoned you to the other one.
No, I've been on this map the whole time.
Oh, what the heck?
Hey, it's all right.
Waiting for the adventure to begin. Oh, great. Now it's just busted. To the main menu.
Oh no! How am I in here? I'm waiting on the jam again.
Maybe that's why I was busted. Maybe because it thought it grabbed you, but it didn't. And then
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll be back in just a sec.
Yeah, you're good. Hopefully, it loads me into the actual ruins. Technical difficult. Let's just let it do its thing. This one's a little bit bigger. Hopefully it actually failed to fetch board. Retrying. Oh, good. Come on. I don't know.
Are you here? Is it working?
I don't think it's gonna cooperate. That kind of sucks.
Oh, I'm still here. Oh, let me leave then.
Yeah, maybe there's something going on with all that. Let me know when you're in the main menu.
I'm out.
Okay, I think maybe me fetching you and it didn't load, and now it's like trying to load things. I think it might have glitched it out.
TaleSpire's still in early access.
Literally, right? The second you left, everything's fine now.
I get that a lot.
All right, summon players to this board. I guess you can just join. Nice bread.
Thank you, dude. I think I need to close TaleSpire because now the menu's taking a minute. So 1 second. You're gonna continue what you're doing, and I'll just see if I can jump in.
Sure. So yeah. This is one of the biggest maps that I built. This was kind of the one that I always had in mind when I was talking about expanding kind of your battle map area of inclusion, because it didn't really. It makes it feel. Some of the descriptors that you were giving maybe previous to this can be validated by when you see kind of the battle map. Like, that's one thing I wanted to emphasize with this was like just how dense the woodlands that you guys were going through. Right. And so that's something I wanted to really emphasize here, and that's why I drew it back so much and I brought it out here. I would just like to say I would absolutely not individually ever build that many trees. And so off to the left-hand side, west side of the board, you can see our 3 different height trees. And so I'd take one, I would smash it around. I'd take a smaller one, I'd smash it around. I'd take an even smaller one, smash it around. I just rinse and repeat. And I just do that until you have you kind of have that natural difference in height of the canopy. Saved me a shit ton of time. Also, if you can see, also on the west side of the board, you can see the kind of the tower segment there, and that's actually what I built up, so I could just layer that multiple times on top of itself and then build it kind of out. Yeah, and so that was saves you a lot of time doing that. But basically, the Valenvor ruins, the ruins from long ago. Majority of people didn't actually know what they were. Obviously, the party kind of was able to figure it out and navigate. But yeah, this was actually a lot of fun to build out. They actually met up with the Goliath yeah, sure. It says you want to do it twice. They actually met up with a Goliath little kind of excursion party, and they have their tents and whatnot here. You can see they have their big kind of fur kind of pelted tents, and then you have the party's kind of smaller ones. I actually sadly removed all the minis. You can see them over here just to consolidate them. There was actually a lot more of the Goliath clan, but they died in the fight. This is actually the Remoraz fight that we mentioned multiple times. Not quite the Remoraz mini, but something to at least emulate it. And then going back to kind of adjusting terrain, you can see the Remoraz holes that they burrowed out under up from, and I added those to the terrain as well. But yeah, you can just see kind of some of these buildings. You can see that they're obviously very dilapidated. They have like debris that you can put everywhere. So I, showed the roofs, but then I showed that they caved in portions, which was cool. And then obviously the supporting pillars. This one I actually spent a good amount of time with. Like I sat there and I was rotating through debris to kind of stack it differently and whatnot. But yeah, and then obviously you have the actual elevated portion of it. There's a statue over here that wasn't exactly the statue that that was described, but it was at least similar enough, and so then I was able to use that as kind of a piece there. And then you have the roof of this tower kind of blown out, added some debris, and then you have obviously light sources and whatnot. So I want to say, I actually don't think I did anything. Yeah, I literally did nothing on the interior of the towers here.
Yes, I just noticed that. That's why I tried to open the door. I was like, what's going on in there? But
yeah, no, I didn't.
I mean, that's fine because that was when we went to like theater of the mind.
Exactly. Exactly, yeah. Which is something, yeah. So yeah, and there was a lot of things in TaleSpire there's a lot of things that I wanted to. I want to say there was nothing in there, because let's see. Just give me one sec.
I'll give you two.
No. Yeah. Thank you, bro. Give me 2 of 2. Yeah. So I didn't. But going back to what we were saying earlier, when it comes to just even jumping on TaleSpire for a perspective, I did go on TaleSpire and I was like, kind of using TaleSpire to determine the lead kind of box in the interior of the tower, if you remember that, Connor. And I used TaleSpire to kind of be like, okay, does that make sense proportionally, and how does it work? And I actually had to look at the tower here and see what the specs were for the tower that I already built, and then been like, okay, how would that fit in there? How does that work?
Which, and that makes sense to me. I mean, plenty. We're just like, all right, I made this and shit. Yeah. Let's make sure this makes sense now.
Exactly.
Like that's.
Oh, you went in the tower. Oh, I see. You went in the tower that you guys did not go into, thinking you'd see something. Yeah,
that's exactly what I did.
I see. Yeah. So ironically enough, they went into this main tower, but they actually never even walked across the bridge to this other tower. Somehow built it all the way out, very visually there, but my players never actually went over there and delved into it in the game, which is fine, because I actually was debating on like 4 or 5 different ideas on what this tower would hold, and I was like, we'll fucking find out if they go over to it, and they didn't. So
yeah, because we're wise.
Yeah. But really enjoyed this one, a lot of fun. But I then hold on, I'm renaming boards, but then I built the underneath of this one, so let's go to that beneath Valen Vor. So we're going to go ahead and move down underneath it, which is always fun. So I will bring you here, I want to say. Summon players. So
I moved.
Nice. They worked this time.
Yeah.
So this is the beneath the ruins, and the party had discovered that also spoilers for the Through the Frosttrail arc.
By the way.
Yeah, I probably should have hit you with some spoilers. But I guess you would have known that when I said we're gonna do Through the Frosttrail battle map. So there's that. But yeah, there's I'll write that in the video description. Like, hey, there are spoilers in the arcs or the Through the Frosttrail arc if you have any desire.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah, but anyway, so there was this kind of a obviously rectangular stairwell down, which I kind of wanted to build up here, and actually I did flesh out this one. I did actually kind of build it out so that when that the players actually started in here, they did in fact could kind of see inside the well or the stairwell. So it was actually pretty cool to kind of build it out. Kind of complicated, but one of those things that do it sometimes to get that experience. And then they had to navigate their way through. Obviously, had some skeletons because people died in here. There was a Daylight Defender that I've actually mentioned in some other episodes. There he is. And then added, I think this one... Is this one? Yes. So on the stream you can see it. Connor, you obviously cannot, but this is kind of how you can see the hidden
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Sectioning, yeah. So this is how you kind of hide things in your battle maps, and you can toggle visibility when they discover it, or leave it for later or whatever. So that's actually. Oh, I think I accidentally messed that up. I think I didn't toggle that. Wait, why is it doing that now? Oh, that's just how it is. Okay, never mind. Something really cool too is they actually have levers in TaleSpire that you can like flip. So it's actually like little things you can interact with, which I really like about this. You know, they don't, you know, they are early access, so they don't have the most interaction. Like I'm waiting for them to be able to add it so you can turn on and off lights. That'd be so cool, because that was one thing that kind of going back to what we were mentioning, it can kind of be a detriment sometimes with battle maps, is all the lights were on. Right. And so when they go down there, they can see. And so, but like I had to emphasize, hey, they weren't on. Or like for me, maybe I wouldn't have noted that in my descriptors because I already see them on, and you know, slips my mind. So that's just something you got to kind of make sure you remember, is like if things don't emulate appropriately. And I didn't want to have all the lights be off because, you know, it gave the room atmosphere, and they would have lit them up. Which I will say was kind of frustrating, is I was like, hey, so you guys gonna light up the torches on the way down or whatever? And then like y'all were like, nah. And then Sir Denver's like, yeah, I'll light every 5th one. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, why, dude? Just light the fucking torches.
Nah. Of course, I have dark vision. So, you know.
Yeah, it's the simplest shit. Literally, I was like, oh, if I light up the torches and have them pre-lit, then they'll light them up for sure. You know, of course, it's what any venturing party does. And then, of course, the one time you do it, they're like, no, I don't think I will. And you're like, fuck you. But then, yeah, you go deeper in, you have the different ways, you have the doors that are open, you can actually, you know, open and close the doors here. And then I had kind of, so these ruins were actually an ancient prison. When I say ancient, you know, a very old prison that held certain things and entities. And so, you know, I had some prison cages here, and then I had a little like kind of lounge area that you could, that the guards at one point would have been chilling in, and then you had like the main kind of antechamber of whatever was held within. You can see it's obviously blown out. And this is actually something that's kind of frustrating about using the ruins pieces, is that like, and just TaleSpire in general, is the way that certain tiles connect, and you can't flip them or use them in certain ways because they want to magnetize together, or they're stuck on a certain grid, and so that's kind of frustrating. So I actually spent a little bit of time intentionally trying to figure out how I can make it so that you see here, I should use my light tool. You see these like these broken kind of pieces. I wanted to make it so like the wall was broken but not everything, and so I had to kind of finagle certain pieces of broken wall tiles and make it so, and like have certain things sticking out, and then actually have others like the majority shoved into the wall. A lot of different fine-tuning things that you can do, but but like it's so worth it because it just looks so cool. And the payoff, you know, of the visual.
I will say that light looks really cool in this incredibly dark environment.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can like see the change, like, oh shit, like, yeah. Which is actually something I probably should have, like, I could have done this. I forgot about the light. I should have had the light when you guys were, you know, navigating this for the first time.
Well, yeah, it's just TaleSpire has so many things to pay attention to.
Yeah.
That yeah, I think certain things will fall through no matter what.
Yeah. And then you obviously have all these these characters you can see are actually made through TaleSpire. Like this was Morello, which Logan was playing.
Hero Forge?
Sorry, yes, Hero Forge.
Yeah, I do it all the time.
The porting over of Hero Forge minis. This is Axoff, the one I built so that, you know, the person they're escorting, Sir Denric, and then you have Zahir and Bearded and whatnot. But we are kind of running out of time for tonight's episode, so these next couple ones are going to be a little bit quicker, but I do want to just demonstrate a couple things. Boards, if I can remember what I'm doing. And I will summon you.
Oh, please.
Summoning per the usual. Players. Summon players. Alright. So. Another very are you here?
I'm here.
Okay, so
I was remembering the map.
Yeah, so if you actually go north a little bit from this battle map, I'm going to go ahead and show you the other encounter maps that were not actually known to you guys, but known to you guys because you guys never actually fought there. Because these encounters were for an encounter table. So I had 3 different combat encounters that could occur depending on whatever they rolled, right? So I built out 3 different maps. The one over here, kind of northwest corner, top left here. This one, kind of simple.
Yes.
Kind of simple. It just has like kind of like a central hill in the raised up area. You have
around it. Yeah.
You have diverging kind of paths over here. Actually, at the start of on the western side of this map, you can see a chest, which is actually Sir Denrick's sled that I'd already prepped out right there.
Nice.
But yeah, because they're in the woods. There's not a whole lot you can do for fine details per se about like you were saying carpets or things like that. But I wanted to make sure the terrain wasn't just flat, so I added a hill in the middle there, which so that made that one a little
good,
bit.
By the way.
Thank you.
What tiles were you using for that? Do you remember?
For the hill?
Yeah.
I don't
think I've seen those.
I just built. So what I did, I just built up like different multi layers, and then I used the snow objects, and then I kind of built them, and and then I layered it. Yeah, and it kind of came out pretty good. Appreciate you. And then so similar kind of concept, but a little bit different is on the top right one, the northeastern battle map. It's still kind of an incline. There is a grade to it, but it's more of a funnel. And so I don't know if you can see it, but it almost like on the left and the right, it's still even off to the sides, but in the middle, it kind of slowly funnels up on a hill.
Right.
And I don't know if you remember. I don't actually know if I got to it necessarily. Maybe I didn't explain it. I think I didn't explain it because you guys didn't roll it. But anyway, there's that one, and then obviously the. Well, I was gonna say because in my mind I remember specifically being like, okay, and then they go up a hill, but then you guys didn't actually fight on here, and I can't remember if I described the hill still because even though you guys didn't fight, or if I just disregarded it altogether. I probably just
that makes sense. And also just traveling, even if you did say it, there's no way I would remember it specifically.
Exactly. And then for this was just kind of like an ambush, like rocks, funneling you through, ambush, kind of have some different elevation, but altogether nothing too incredibly crazy. But I want to say too, so the hill, the first battle map I was explaining, the hill on that one, I'm like pretty sure I just cut that one and I shifted it over to the second one with the hill, and I just built up off of it, which is another thing I like about TaleSpire. You can just chop something, move it, build on top of it, save yourself some time. So, but nothing too crazy, just like landscape kind of things. And then the last one I wanted to demonstrate, this one was a bitch and a half.
Avalanche?
Dude, the avalanche. I did not realize how hard it was going to be to build a fucking avalanche until you try to do it. So, hold on. Okay.
I'm porting it now, yeah.
So this one, obviously, this is probably the most grandiose scale I've done for a battle map. You can literally see down below. Let's see. Actually, everyone already ran off the battle map, but you can kind of see in comparison how small those figurines are compared to these giant lands.
Drag me over.
Yeah. Compared to this ginormous landscape that that I built up here to just wanted to kind of just demonstrate size. Yeah, there you go. Demonstrate size. They were going through kind of like this mountain kind of ravine kind of pass here. There's generally water in the summer times. It's all frozen over, and then due to a recent storm that they had gone through, the storm blew through. It caused this buildup of snow to avalanche down. I don't know why. I literally was like, I'm just gonna stack a bunch of tiles and make an avalanche. Yeah, that's a lot harder when you build a fucking huge scale of a map like this, and then you're trying to sit there and just build up, a shit ton of snow. The amount of tiles that are hidden underneath what you see is kind of insane.
No, I definitely cut into this particular slice here, and there's a...
Yeah, there was a couple different things. There's a couple different instances that there's a couple different things I started and then went back on it and whatnot. But I will say this. the mountain walls here, super easy. I built up like one section and I just copy and pasted it. Copy and pasted it, flipped it, I kind of built it in a certain way, and I just kept reversing it and flipping it so that it kind of had an ebb and flow to it, a natural ebb and flow. I heightened it, I changed the differences, so I copied it, changed the height, built it up a little bit. But overall, the sides of the wall actually were not very difficult to build up, because I just, like I said, copy and paste it. This encounter actually had a couple of some giants, some frost giants that were that kind of were hanging out and saw the party, so they started chucking rocks at them. Kind of a cool like combat but not combat encounter, more of like a traversal encounter. I don't
know if we ever did anything offensive to them.
The only thing that happened was Zahir ended up going up there and casting Wall of Light, which kind of just was breaking line of sight, and that was about it. There was no actual engagement, which
that makes sense. Yeah.
Which is pretty cool, and I thought it was actually pretty fun. And then Sir Denric sliding down the avalanche side with his shield was pretty fun. But yeah, very grandiose, but a lot of fun, and relatively simple in construction. But it gets the point across, and it made the encounter really come to life. So
no, definitely. I mean, it does look like an absolute pain in the ass to make, but also like it worked for what you were going for. It worked for the encounter. Like, it was a good encounter.
Right. And I think that's also one thing. Don't do anything too crazy. I wasn't gonna build the entire fucking mountain. I also like 10 or 15 or 20-ish feet behind where these giants are, there was a mouth to a cave. But it's like, that's kind of irrelevant. The party, the intent, 99% chance of the party continuing on their destination, where they're what they were doing this entire arc, the chances of them going up here and even remotely trying to interact, it kind of went how I expected it to go. I expected maybe a little bit more of maybe some firing or some cover fire from some of the party members, but in general, it went how I expected it to go. And actually, well, in terms of actual combat, what I expected to happen was a little bit different in terms of traversing it. I didn't. Right. I kind of forgot that Nathan was a druid and that he could just shape change and just use an eagle, and I was like, fuck, okay. I thought you guys were actually going to do a little bit more of a climbing up, and that was going to be a little bit different. But
yeah, I wasn't about to do that shit.
No, it made sense. And then you were just like, I dimension door that way, and I was like, oh, okay. But that's kind of fun.
I trust.
Yeah, that's what's fun. It's like you build something and you have some things in mind, but what will the party do? And you'll certainly find out.
You will absolutely find out. Yeah, that's what makes it fun.
Does. But yeah, Connor, that's all the battle maps that I think that's it for this one. Yep, that was all. Yeah, showed all of them.
Hell yeah.
Nice. But yeah, that's about honestly perfectly about as much time as we have for tonight. But
we planned that. Yeah,
we had this down to the minute. But no, TaleSpire, I really like it. I know there's obviously a lot of software out there. I want to say, is it Roll20? Is that the one that has the 2D, or what is that?
Roll20 has it. I know Tabletop Simulator we messed with a while back.
Right, those ones.
And that was okay. I remember it being harder to build on for what I wanted. Well, but it worked. But also, I think there was too much power allowed to the players on that one.
Yeah, there was a flip table. There was a flip table option in that fucking game, and you literally could just destroy everything, and then you break the.
I feel like you could make that a setting, but I never did.
I think you could, but there's a lot of different softwares out there. I think D&D official, D&D Wizards of the Coast, are making their own. However, it looks like TaleSpire, but honestly, to be quite frank, it looks a little bit less. What's the word? It looks more rigid. TaleSpire is very free. That one looks a little bit more rigid when it comes to actually designing things and using it. But I think TaleSpire is great. It's still early access. They're still doing a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
And Nox is sneezing. And one thing I really like about TaleSpire is, or one thing I know a lot of potential that TaleSpire is implementing is mods. They're supporting mods, which will honestly allowing mods in a game is just it's basically just getting free content without doing the work, because there's so many people out there who are so talented who can just do all this shit anyway. They do it for fun. They do it because they want to, they want this thing, so they're just I'll just do it myself. And so for this platform to open it up to that, I think is gonna be really, really cool. when it comes to then people being able to build assets and figures and stuff. Because, like I said, I think the terrain builder is actually pretty fleshed out pretty well. They keep adding things, but I'd say it does encompass a majority of what you need. But I'd say that the actual minis is where they're lacking. And when mods come out and they actually support the minis and stuff, they'll just start dumping. Which I don't know if you've seen, but if you actually go to the Hero Forge portion of the of TaleSpire, they actually are Hero Forge is adding a bunch of minis too. Like they have a bunch of different preset things. And they have like 4 to 5 of like dwarves or like hard encounters, and there's like ogres and stuff, and they're kind of almost like, not only can you port in your own stuff, but they're just kind of feeding in minis as well, which I thought was really cool that they're just giving people free access to that. So
I always like the inclusion. Every once in a while, load on to TaleSpire, and TaleSpire will add new stuff. And then Hero Forge, as you're saying, will have some free stuff there. Which especially every once in a while, like, again, I do sci-fi. There'll be stuff every once in a while for sci-fi type stuff. Like, oh yeah, like the sniper you saw on top of the that bar. That was TaleSpire mini that Hero Forge added.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was just a freebie.
Which I saw that actually when I was doing some stuff beforehand. They added a couple different packs for stuff like that too.
Yeah.
For the sci-fi or just other realms, right? You know, whatever that might be. So.
It's sci-fi or modern day, which when you go from modern day to sci-fi, it's a lot easier of a transition than modern day to fantasy.
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Hey, but you can still use tents. Just throw a TV in there and you're good.
Just throw a TV in the tent. Throw a generator in there. Don't add ventilation.
Smoke them out. But yeah, that concludes our TaleSpire kind of episode here, which I think it kind of complemented our encounters talk pretty well. And if you haven't watched the encounters, our encounters conversation, that do so, and it kind of makes a little bit more sense than kind of the topics that we kind of covered here. So we double down on some things. But yeah, unless you have anything last minute, Connor, I think we're good here.
No, just looking at that makes me want to build another TaleSpire map.
I know.
Bad.
Yeah, I'm actually excited to DM. It's funny because I've recently been like, I wouldn't say I have a lot of free time per se, but like I've just been noticing my workload isn't as there's some things that I'm noticing my workload that I'm like, I feel like I've been busier before. It's because I'm not DMing. As soon as I DMing, I know I'm gonna be back into fucking being like, up late building maps, prep work, all sorts of different things. So
yes, no, I definitely understand that.
And jumping on TaleSpire. Actually, whenever I see updates for TaleSpire, I was just super excited. I'm like, oh, and then I think they added unicorns. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah. I hate it when it's like, oh, what are they doing? It's a hot patch. Well, I appreciate it. Shit.
Yeah. Well, alrighty.
Probably important.
Yeah, exactly. Fix the bugs that I'm not noticing, but others are definitely probably. Wait, this game came out. This has been in development since 2015. Shit.
That's about right. Yeah.
That's wild.
TaleSpire's been out a while.
Bouncy Rock. Cool. Bouncy Rock Entertainment. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, thank you everybody for hanging out with us at the tavern, kind of jumping through our battle maps and seeing our creative process. Hopefully, it was beneficial to you, and maybe check it out. Support this company. They're really doing some good work. I really feel like one of the biggest drawbacks in some online settings when it comes to playing with your friends, across the continent or whatever it is, whatever your country, world, whatever, can be kind of
different
combat.
Planets.
Yeah, shouldn't across cyberspace playing with your alien friends. Can be combat and building battle maps. So TaleSpire really does a lot of the heavy lifting for that. So I appreciate what they're doing here. So also, I don't know, just one last thing. It came to Mac. It wasn't on Mac. Wasn't supported for Mac for the longest time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It's one of the few things that actually, is not only PC, and whatnot, and Windows and stuff, but also for Mac. And they just recently fixed that. So good on them. Our buddy, my brother Todd, he's like the only one of us that has a Mac, and he can now finally be involved in the actual battle map.
We don't have to keep doing what we've been doing. Is everybody's on TaleSpire, and if somebody could screen share onto Discord for Todd, that'd be great. Anyways, and then we go.
Exactly. Well, alrighty. Well, once again, thank you everyone for hanging out with us. And if you're been following the Red Mire Hunt arc, that'll be on Sunday. Things are getting spookier and shittier for our characters episode by episode. So if you're looking to continue on that'll be Sunday. But...
I'm getting constant texts from some of them asking me not to kill them. Nice. Like not while we're playing, but like during the week.
Yeah, we'll see. Tune in Sunday, and I guess you'll see too. But until then, we hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your night and a wonderful rest of your week, and we will catch you at the tavern next time.
Yes, sir.